Please say that here in the studio with me is Mahjoob Zweiri, the director of the Gulf Studies Center at Qatar University. Mahjoob, thank you so much indeed for coming. A great pleasure to have you in the studio. I want to go back to the very first day, October the 7th, just to understand how Israel may have been influenced by the international community regarding what it's doing right now in Gaza. Because I was on air that day, and as the response came from the Western world, there was one phrase that stood out amongst all the responses, talking about Hamas and an unprovoked attack on Israel. That phrase, unprovoked attack, does that say, or what does it say about the Western world's reaction and its position regarding Israeli actions?
Thank you for having me. You know, from day one, the whole thing is about narrative and counter-narrative. The Israelis basically try to sell a very clear narrative to the West that this is everything started in 7th of October. This is in ISIS. This is in 9/11 to wake up the Americans to that fact. However, the world has forgotten, even the Israelis, that Gaza was under occupation 56 years ago. Palestinian issue is now 70 years ago. I think the narrative that Israelis try to sell to achieve two goals. One, to have more empathy from the West. Secondly, to have more military and political support. It was obvious that the military was not ready for this war. Even they do not have the basic needs for reserves. You know, as you know, they call around 400,000 reserves, the Israelis, and they need equipment for them. So to get this reserve, they need this narrative to be sold there, and they tried to do it. Unfortunately, Western media and Western politicians, they accepted this because of two things. One, they have this kind of appreciation that Israelis is serving their interest in the region. And the second reason is actually the dehumanization of the Arab and Muslim Palestinians as a human being. They don't see that people exist. They don't see people, they have a right to live a normal life. They're always dehumanizing the people. And that's the reason why we see all of this dehumanization of the Palestinian in the last 55 days so far.
Actually, and talking about Western response, I think I'm probably wrong in saying West. I should have said global North. Because quite a few Latin American countries are not happy with Israel at all.
Absolutely.
And they've even threatened to cut relations. Pedro Sanchez, the Spanish Prime Minister, has just said in the past few minutes that he's not even sure if Israel respects international humanitarian law. He's one of the few Western leaders who seems to have taken a harder position against Israel.
And Belgium.
Yeah, of course, and also Portugal and Ireland.
It was obvious. Germany, France, they have set back a little bit in the last few weeks. They changed their narrative a little bit.
Correct.
They start talking about the suffering of the Palestinians, the desire, there should be a long-term solutions, the occupation should take care of, they changed the narrative. The British politics is still in the same circle as the American circle, which is basically supporting the Israelis' narrative and try to say everything starts 7th of October.
Did Hamas underestimate the Israeli response?
I think Hamas did not expect this kind of success. I would argue, on my analysis in the first day, that they expected a tough process, tough operation. They were surprised of the level of success, and also they were surprised of some elements on the ground, including the celebration, which they did not expect. 300 or 400 people, they did not expect them. I think those elements complicated the operation and also complicated the outcome of the operation, which is the Israeli response. And I think they did not expect this kind of level of Israeli response and also the American response to go to that level.
I've spoken to senior Palestinians who say the two-state solution is a cliche. It's a pipe dream. Let's not even talk about it right now. Yeah. But the question is whether what's happening now is a truly definitive moment, because clearly it's brought the Palestinian issue right to the forefront, probably the top story in the world for the past month. So does that mean that the divisions are so great between the leaderships of the two sides, both Hamas and Israel, but eventually do you see this producing some kind of longer-term solution, or it will actually make it harder because there may be even more extremists in power in both Gaza and Israel?
To be honest, the problem is not only between the Palestinians. The problem is the external players who are dividing, creating more division within the Palestinian fabric. Let's just give some context. In the Palestinian West Bank, the Palestinian Authority was given this project of establishing an autonomy called Palestinian Authority. In 1993, the settlers in West Bank were 100,000. Today, 700,000.
Yeah.
So, how can you create peace? How can you build peace? How, if settlements, settlers are increasing internal population, if the settlements are increasing, even last week they asked for more expansion. If you are weakened the Palestinian Authority as a project, if you transfer it to become a security service provider to the Israelis, how can you want to convince the Palestinians there is a project, there is hope for their life? So it's not about Hamas and PLO, it's about the desire of not recognizing the right of the Palestinians to have their own state, even a two-state solution. What does remain of this solution? What does remain of the Palestinian state? If you divide it, Gaza has been destroyed. One of the major questions now is who will build Gaza, rebuild Gaza? All of this destruction of Gaza, where is the international community? Why they don't talk about rebuilding Gaza? Gaza is a product of Israeli crimes. International community should come into those people, 2.3 million, they have the right to have education, health service, infrastructure. Where are they from all of this?
And they've been talking about reconstructing Ukraine for almost a year and a
Of
half
course.
now, right? Okay, just finally, and a little bit briefly as we're running out of time, what will Hamas have been doing during this truce?
I think it's obvious Hamas has interest to have a truce, even long-term truce. I think the message was received to the Israelis that they are strong, they are in power, and I think they want to have a truce to release more Palestinians. It depends on the Israeli side whether they will accept a deal, to release all Palestinians in prison. The issue about details now, there are 4,000 people who have long-term prisoners, and there are 3,000 people who have short-term in prison. So the number now should come to 4,000 or 7,000. I think Hamas will try to release all Palestinians, but it depends how much Israelis have flexibility in doing so and how much Americans can impose on them to do so.
I just wanted to try to find out if you know whether Hamas might be restocking and resupplying its fighters through their tunnels through which they've been getting weapons for years.
As a professor in academic, I would expect they will do everything to strengthen their own position in the operations. I think they already announced today that they call all their fighters to be ready in case Israelis attack. I think they look smart enough. Otherwise, they will not start this operation.
Okay, my producer has given us more time, Mahjoob. She likes you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's talk about the reaction of other Arab nations.
Yes.
Because at the moment, it seems as if they're a little bit restricted, maybe compromised, you could say, because of their relationship with the United States. There was talk that some of them were thinking we actually should be more decisive and tell the Americans we're going to stop certain cooperations with them. But that was kind of, it was reduced. So it wasn't included in that final communique when a few weeks ago 54 Arab and Muslim majority nations got together. How worried are Arab leaders about the reaction in their streets?
I think we cannot talk about Arab leaders. We can talk about a few countries.
Right, okay.
We can talk about Egypt, Jordan. Egypt and Jordan, especially Jordan, showed a very tough message to the Israelis.
Yeah.
Jordan has signed 1994 treaty with the Israelis. They basically tried to change the status quo of the Al-qassam mosque, where Turkey and Qatar supported the Jordanian side. And now Jordan says, look, we have a peace treaty with you. You do not respect anything. You want to change the status quo of this. And what you have done in Gaza is a crime. So now there is a tough word between Jordan and the Israelis. And it's obvious that they are pushing Israelis to basically to do something. I think it's obvious that the project to transfer Palestinian has failed. The project of get rid of Hamas 100% has failed because of this position. The American came in the first week with the imagination that countries will accept this, but they rejected.
Your timing is perfect, Mahjoob. It's like you're a professional broadcaster. Thank you so much indeed.
My pleasure.
Really, really appreciate
My pleasure.
it. Mahjoob Zweiri from Qatar University.